Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Archery Not Anarchy. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Roberta, and for this episode and for the entire series, I will be joined by Owen, my coach in Strongbow Archers. Before we start, I want to point out that Owen is naturally a very quick talker. He goes with his train of thought, and so it might sound as if I have sped him up in what he says, but I assure you I haven't. I did actually think of slowing it down, but that would sound weird, and it also wouldn't be a true reflection of who Owen is. I hope you enjoy this episode and all episodes to come. Please feel free to contact us via archerynotanarchy@gmail.com, or if you search for us on Blue Sky, Archery Not Anarchy Podcast, you'll find us there. Thanks and enjoy the episode. Here's Owen.
There's a lot of clubs and a lot of archers doing this now, which is brilliant. And then there's people just fooling around as well. Bit of fun.
Yeah, but it's not going to be as good as ours. Let the interview begin.
Really? There's no kind of... I don't get to hear your introductory episode, so I don't know what way to set the mood or whatever kind of...
No.
Okay, fine.
This is how it's going to be.
Fine. Okay,
No
go in.
power dynamic.
No problem. Oh, yeah. That's okay. At least I know my place.
All right, so tell us about who you are.
Who I am.
Who is Owen
Now, do you want
Reynolds?
to know everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about you, your background.
My name is Owen Reynolds, and I'm doing archery about maybe the last 8 years, or I could just dive straight into the whole archery thing.
Yeah,
I could tell you a bit about myself, but it'd be really boring.
Like, how did you get into archery?
How did I get into archery?
Was it love at first shot, or?
No, it was. I think it's a story, or it's a common kind of thread with a lot of people who get into archery. They just try it out. I just happened to see, I was at a St. Patrick's Day parade there one year, and Laois Archery had a place in the parade. And I was actually in that area where I was looking for something to do with my son, who wasn't taking to some of the more kind of conventional contemporary team sports, GAA, soccer, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And he was feeling a bit left out, but I did want him to take up something. But when I saw him in the parade, I was like, oh, hang on a second, I never really thought about that. When I was growing up in Dublin, in Santry, there was a school nearby, Plunkett's.
We won't judge you for being from Santry. It's okay.
It's okay. North side. And I remember as a kid going by them regularly. They'd have practice sessions on a Saturday morning. Now this is going way back in the late 70s, early 80s. And I haven't really thought about archery since then until I saw the guys in the parade. I was like, you know what? I'll try this out. Went along, found out where they were, who they were, what they were about, signed up, put my name on the waiting list, did the beginner's course with Daniel. And initially, I didn't really get into it that much. I was just kind of more focused on Daniel. As I got into it more and more, because if it was something that you were going to do, I was going to do with him, it was something I needed to learn myself as well.
Yeah.
And then, but the more I learned, the more I got more curious. The more curious I got, the more I learned. And that spiraling thing out of control hasn't really stopped since. So that's brought me to where I am today. Daniel kind of took a step back. And my daughter, Olivia, stepped in. Again, she'd be very much motivated by what Daniel would be doing. If he's doing it, she wants to have a go. And she's really embraced it. Now, Daniel has gone on to do different things and he's looking at getting back into it now.
Yeah.
But Olivia loves it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's been very good for her as well. Yeah. Similar story, looking for somewhere to fit in or something to do. And
yeah.
But she's made some fantastic friends there as well. And so it's great to be able to get out there and do something with her as well and be part of that. As well, and a bit of banter. So that was about maybe 8 years ago, and that's how I got into it.
So what point was it when you realised how big a part of your life it was going to be?
When people start coming to you and you start assisting them with small little things, could be maybe something as simple as maybe stringing their bow. You think, hang on a second, you start realising, I suppose, a developing skill in yourself, but also a potential there to help others as well.
Sure.
So there's a certain value to be derived from that.
Yeah.
And that was something I really enjoyed. And then, but that kind of just kept growing and growing. One day was that, and because I'm an engineer by trade, and I can't do something unless I know how it works.
I'm the exact same.
I
Yeah.
have to take it apart, have to dismantle it. 9 times out of 10, I can't put it back together.
I have a Singer sewing machine in there from 1932 I took apart, and I can't put it back together.
My garden's a whole
Jesus.
legacy of stuff that's... But like that, I got into... And I was shooting bow hunter at the time. And one of the things I got into was string making.
Yeah.
I wanted to figure out how this worked. Strand counts, tension, all the rest of it. So I made a couple of strings, but then somebody just came up, oh, listen, I'm stuck for a string. Could you just happen to make me one? I made them a string. It wasn't a great string, but it worked. It got them back in the game. And again, like that, you start... The whole curiosity just took off. I got, hang on, can I do this better? Can I get a better thread? Or I got to the stage where I bought a string jig, Avalon Archery. I was making strings off that. But then you end up, hang on, but I want to make strings a different way, or I want to maybe tension strings and get into different types of strings for traditional bows, compound bows. So I ended up making my own string jig and adding different attachments to it for different lengths of strings, for compound strings, which are kind of shaped. It's like on a compound string, for example, very often there's a thing called a yoke, which is a string in the shape of a Y. So I made components or tools on the jig for that. A tensioning tool as well for putting strings on tension. That's just the strings part. Yeah. That's just one element of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But the more you get into it and you start developing that skill set, the more and more you kind of get into helping others as well. And I'm not saying it's purely benevolent, kind of altruistic thing, but the whole self-worth. But the main turning point for me was when one of the archers in Laois came up to me and he approached me and said, listen, would you not think of maybe becoming a level 1 coach?
Yeah.
I was not happy. Yeah, right. No, I didn't think about it. I thought about it a bit then. I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? Sure. So I did that. I did my course. Colleen Moore, who was a level 3 at the time, the level 1 course with us in Cork in 2019. And and that was the real turning point for me in terms of how much it became a part of my life.
Yeah.
And then obviously the friends you make and the places you visit. Yeah, it's just
snowballs
from then. Yeah.
And what is it that you love the most about coaching?
The one-on-one coach-athlete relationship. I think it's a fascinating kind of thing because you're helping somebody not just to develop a skill, but you're helping them explore a potential in themselves as well.
Yeah.
See, I'm big into a thing called intrinsic motivation as well, where people can explore their own kind of their own motivation for doing it, and it becomes a kind of a self-sustaining thing where they want to do it to not because of any kind of professional or sporting gain or purely or not even necessarily just for the social element as well, but something that they intrinsically want to do for themselves. And you're helping people encourage that and explore that.
Yeah.
And there's many levels to it, from the technical element of the bow right up to the mindfulness aspect as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And
as a coach, you're balancing with each archer. Everyone has their own motivations and their own reason for doing archery. Like I said, some people, their objective is very much a kind of a performance athlete, elite level, and that's fine, 100% fair play to them. And as a coach, you help them along that journey. Others, it's purely a kind of an occasional kind of thing just to pass the time for half an hour or so, and then you help them along. You adjust your process for that. But it's very much for me, the coaching is, I find the coach-athlete relationship is fascinating for me. It's very rewarding as well, especially when you help people or you're part of that journey where somebody kind of discovers something about that they like to do and enjoy as well and embrace in many ways as well. No, I find it's very rewarding, like on a personal level.
So I already know the answer to this, but what would you say your coaching style is? Would you say it's tough or encouraging or a mix of things, or?
I'm going to have to say it's a mix.
Do you think so?
Yeah. And
I think you're very soft. I'm going to take a drink. I apologize for the noise.
Okay. That's only a reflection of the people I'm coaching.
But I don't mean that in a negative way, because I think sometimes soft can be viewed in a negative way. I think, I suppose you're adapting it to who you're dealing with.
You're adapting it to who you're dealing with, and also that person's objectives as well. Yeah. If, for example, you're coaching somebody and they have set their sights on, say, a championship competition, say at the end of the year, then you're into repetition and drills and practice and regular competitions, and they're constantly striving to beat the previous personal best. So there is that discipline involved there, and But like that, when you say tough, it's not about punishing somebody or making somebody. For me, archery is fun. Okay, yeah. And whether it's whatever you're working towards, whether it's that international kind of competition, or the weekly hangout in the club, it has to be fun for me, and it has to be fun for me as well as a coach. Mm-hmm. And if that element is missing, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know? So when I say tough, I mean in a kind of more of a kind of a, how would you say it? More of a kind of a, more keeping a check on things and making sure that all the boxes are being ticked and ticked regularly, but not in any battering way or overbearing way. Like.
So, Strongbow Archers then, what inspired you to start it?
Ooh. It wasn't, well, it wasn't an inspiration. It was more of a notion. But no, I see archery in Ireland growing quite significantly. There's a lot
There's been a massive uptake.
There's been a massive uptake.
Yeah.
But I think the reasons people are taking up archery is not often given the consideration amongst the upper archery echelons, the consideration it should have. I think there's people taking up archery for a whole bunch of very personal reasons.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not necessarily about getting out and competing, even though like I have every respect for people who do that, and that's their objective. Fair play, 100%. But there's a lot of people, and I think archery is offering more and more people an avenue for self-exploration, mindfulness, a social aspect as well.
Yeah.
And particularly with the Irish Field Archery Federation, which we're affiliated to, I think that's been amazing in helping people explore those different options at different levels.
I think, and I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, but I think in places like we're rural.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make connections and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And there's not a lot of facilities for people outside of GAA or the pub. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if there are clubs like this with these kind of sports and whatever, or other hobbies, then that gets people out, that gets them socialising, and it can only be a good thing.
And so to answer your question, the reason I said it was because I see the demand here. And Laois, the population is growing.
Yes.
And we have already an archery club there, Laois Archery, who are one of the largest clubs in the country, if not the largest, and providing a great kind of outlet there in archery. The population's growing.
Yes.
And so I thought, you know what, look, I mean, I'm a level 2 coach, I like archery, and why not? And a number of people had approached me as well about the possibility of maybe setting up a club elsewhere as well, because like I said, the demand is there. So took a chance and set it up, and I have to say that the support and feedback has just been overwhelming. I'm actually shocked, and in a good way.
What have been the biggest challenges you've faced in doing it?
The biggest challenges I've faced in doing it was
being picked on by people.
No, I'm a sucker for punishment, so that's okay. The biggest challenge, that's an interesting one, because I never really thought about there being any kind of massive kind of challenges insofar as there been difficulties as such. There's been a fair bit of work involved, don't get me wrong, and getting the equipment in and carting it around and all the rest of it. The challenge, I suppose, was more kind of that leap of faith. I mean, when you get the gear, get the venue, have that very first meeting, and you put yourself out there, you're wondering, like, this is either going to work or it isn't. That was the challenge.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm just remembering the first time I met you and I was up to 90. Like, I've shot things before and this is great and I can do this. Accept me. And you were just looking at me like,
pretty much how everybody starts.
I can see your face like, what is this? Why? Is there security nearby?
But no, and that was, to be fair, that was my biggest, that very first meeting, like in the Ballycarroll room in Killarney Community Centre. And you're there, and that was the biggest kind of challenge for me, was meeting like the 20 or 25 people who showed up that day, and I was like, no, this is it. It's either going to work or it isn't. And it's worked. And I'm actually, but that's, all I did was just lay out something.
Yeah.
I have to say that and as of today, we're up to 24 members, and every single person there, it's been an amazing experience for me personally to coach everybody and everybody along that journey, and you know what, it's only starting. So that was the challenge.
Yeah.
From then, it's been work, it's been all the rest of it, but that's in a good way. It's rewarding, a really very rewarding experience. Thoroughly enjoying it.
So what makes the club different to other clubs, do you think, other than obviously the fabulous members?
Oh,
our captain and all.
The fabulous members. What makes our club different from other clubs? Okay, I'm going to go out, and I'm not trying to be politically correct or anything like that. I think every club is unique in their own way. Okay.
That's a fair answer.
And so, yes, we are different from other clubs, but only insofar as other clubs are different to us as well.
Yeah.
All in their own way. I could look at any other club in the country and actually identify certain characteristics about those clubs, about the membership, about their motivations or their priorities that makes them unique from other clubs. Others might have a more kind of traditional archery leaning.
Yeah.
Others might be more competitive. Others might be more social. Others might be big, some are small. Others might have fantastic woods. Others might just only have a handful of members and they've got a small hall. But their characteristics and their personalities, they're all reflected differently, you know. And I think that's what's nice about it as well. When archers get out there and explore different clubs and go to different competitions. And when I say competitions, I don't mean that in a kind of competitive performance sense. You're getting out
Just
there.
An experience.
It's an experience. And I think and when you go out there and you do the full round or you shoot 2 or 3 targets and just come back to the muster area, the base camp, have a cup of coffee and chat to people, that's all part of it as well. But you get to experience those different clubs and you can see, oh, right, so that's how this club works and this is how they are. And that's it's nice. And you get to meet some fantastic people and make some amazing friends. And that's all part of what archery is delivering for people as well when they get into it in the first place.
And did you have any kind of mentors or role models when you first started?
Archery?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I don't mean musical, like.
Mentors or role models? No. But what I will say is what kind of was to be shooting alongside people who are starting off in the same way as me, that initial kind of space of I'm doing this, but I don't really know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. That was my kind of motivation, I suppose, for me. There wasn't any one individual as such that inspired to be like or motivated me or anything like that. Yeah, there was fantastic archers out there and you're thinking, I'm not going to be as good as that. And that's grand. But that was not really what I really wanted to be. Performance was never my thing. It was just purely about doing something for myself. For Daniel and Olivia and Maya as well. But again, eventually you go shooting and you practice and you do a bit of practice. You end up getting good. And I shoot a category called bare bow, or I did. And there was a time there for a period I was practicing quite a bit. And my results were improving, and I was happy with that. But then I backed off from that a little bit. I got more into coaching, and I got more into kind of tuning with stuff and tinkering stuff. At least I know if I did put in the work, like with any body, if you put in the work, it's going to deliver for you, you know.
And do you do more coaching than competing now?
I do a lot more. I do a lot more coaching, and I do a lot more kind of tuning bows and tinkering with stuff. And I do a lot of. I do compete a lot, but not in a competitive.
Just for fun,
just for fun. Yeah. I'll try and get in as many. The quote I'm allowed now at home is I can do maybe 2 a month. Two. So that's my quota.
Yeah.
But when I get out, it's not with the objective of kind of setting a record or getting a gain or winning a medal. It's to get out, have a bit of fun, bit of crack, and make sure I haven't forgotten too much. And that's my objective. Now, the category I shoot in is in a category called Freestyle Limited. At the moment, there's not too many other people in that category. I'll get my medal for that, but that's not why I'm doing it. It's a bit of fun.
I think that's, like, I'm extremely competitive, but one thing archery has taught me, one thing my coach has taught me, is I can't be the best at everything.
Did I tell you that?
You never said it, but you've always been like, getting it on the paper, getting on the target is enough. You don't have to get the bullseye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think my whole kind of psychology around it has changed a lot.
Brilliant.
I'm not now. It's not a bullseye.
All you can really strive for is to be the best version of yourself as opposed to be the best.
Yeah. And I do want to go to competitions, but I want to do it just to see what I can do rather than be number one on the podium.
And that's something I'm very conscious of, like with our club, because it's a new club and we've only set up like in the last 6 months or so, and all the archers there, all the members are new to it.
Yeah.
And that is something that I would be a little bit worried about, but I don't want to push that too far. In that, like, when somebody goes out there and for the very, very first competition, it's very daunting. It can be a daunting experience. But that's what I learned. What I know now, but I didn't know then, is that's actually down to your own personal expectations.
Yeah, the pressure you're putting on
and
yourself.
The pressure you're putting, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you go out there and you do the first competitions, and you're up against people who've been shooting many years.
Yeah, you have to be realistic.
And you go home and all your hours are missing, and you've whatever, and you've had a miserable time. You're like, well, Jesus, I'm not doing that again. But that's down to you. And for putting yourself under that pressure to begin with.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's something that I do want to, I'm not speaking for other clubs, but certainly when people start getting out there, is to not go out there with an expectation of something. They don't predetermine something. Just go out there, enjoy it, meet the people, have the crack, gauge the surroundings, and then over time, you'll figure out yourself what you want to put into it, whether as you want to go the distance or just dip into it.
What do you think makes a good archer? Do you think it's the mindset? I think it's a combination of mindset and the physical side of it.
That's what I love about it is the combination.
Yeah.
You've got the physical side, you've got the mental or the mindful aspect as well. You've got a very strong technical aspect as well, which I love too. And I love the way all those things interact and how they're interdependent on each other. Especially with a bow. I'm going to go out on a limit. There's a phrase that goes around, which I'm not, and look, everybody's got their own personal opinion, and that's okay. But whereby it's not the bow, it's the archer. I don't agree with that. I think it's a combination. It's both. Because
I think so, yeah.
When you get a bow, you set it up to suit you. The brace height, the arrows, the knocking point, everything is set up to suit you. And your bow, you could hand it to somebody else, it wouldn't perform for them at all. It's a combination.
Yeah.
And it changes over time as well. The more you shoot, the more you build up your body strength, your core strength, your flexibility. So therefore, you need to adjust certain things on your bow for that, to take account of that. So it's always a kind of it's a dual relationship between the two. And that's what I like about it, is because if you have that kind of harmony or that balance whereby you're working with a piece of equipment, but it's almost an extension of you as well.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's fascinating for me. As a coach, you're helping an archer, but as an engineer, I get to meddle with stuff as well,
But I think that's something that I noticed very early on in archery and a lot of people have a misconception about it, is that you don't just point and shoot. Like, it's not that simple. There's you have to figure out like the trajectory of the arrow and how this is going to, what impacts that and what's this. And even the way your stance slightly changed, how that can impact your shot and everything. Yeah. There's a lot more kind of technical stuff to it than people think.
But that's what's nice about it. Because I think if it was a case of coming in, doing your course, and it was a case of pointing and shooting,
there'd be no fun in it.
Correct.
Which is why I don't like compound bow. I know nothing about archery, and I'm judging.
Look, I broke a promise I made to myself, 4 or 5 years ago, that I would never touch one of the things. Like, now there's bits of them all over the table, like at home.
They look pretty, and I'm really fascinated by how they work. But my God, people are gonna. If anyone listens to this, they're gonna come after me. But it's not fun for me because there's so much help with it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And even when I was watching the stuff that was on from the United States the other week, when I was watching that, and I was seeing how much what do I shoot? Recurve.
You shoot recurve, yes.
Yeah.
Going to recurve.
How much I know. How the difference between all the bow styles and how the recurves would miss a lot more than the compound bows. And I was like, that's because you have everything on your compound bow to do it for you.
Yeah. But
again, people are going to kill me for this.
No, but then with a compound bow, when you're down to that level of precision, I mean, that you need to be getting those X's. You need to be getting those 5s.
Yeah, there's no fun in that. For me, personally.
Yeah. And but this is where it comes down to each individual's personal objective.
Yeah.
For me, I shoot compound purely because it's purely the technical aspect of it. I like knowing
the challenge of it.
It's a challenge as well, but I like this device that I can adjust in many ways to suit me personally, and that I've done so. And because I shoot a category called freestyle, limited, so I shoot a compound bow using my fingers. I don't use a trigger release.
Yes.
So that bow had to be set up in a certain way to accommodate that. Yeah. But whether it's a compound bow or a long bow, the principles are the same when it comes to your stance and your posture and your release and your follow through and all the rest of it. And it can be as complicated or as simple as you make it. You might say, I'm not doing a compound bow. I said the same thing. But a point will come whereby you've reached a point. I'm only spitballing here, but you might say, you know what?
Give it a go.
Yeah, you're going to give it a go.
Yeah.
I've learned this. I've brought this to a certain point, and now some people are just are quite happy to stay in a category forever. Fair play. Others just go. They have that kind of ongoing exploratory curiosity. Like, I've brought it here. Now, what's next? And that's fine.
I was tempted to ask John last night if I could try his, and then I was like, no, I will not give in to it. I will not. I cannot slag it off and then be like, can I just have a little go? I'm still obsessed.
It's already started. That's how it starts.
But I'm still obsessed with that 43-pound one that I shot the other week.
That was a beauty. It was a border, I think it was, and that was a
The
beautiful.
power out of that, I was like,
it was
oh my God.
It's a beautiful bow.
I got good shots with that as well, and I was like, can I have this? Thank you. But yeah, I would have only been able to do maybe 5 shots, and then I would have been just like wrecked.
Yeah. No, that's a magnificent bow. No,
Neil's one, wasn't it?
It was Nick, I think, had it.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's one misconception you think people have about archery?
That you have to have been doing it your whole life to be good at it. And I say this at every single beginner's course. And I think people think of archery sometimes as an elite sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, it's more of a pursuit in many ways. And that's what I really like about, again, getting back to the whole FF kind of ethos. There's a lot of archers out there who have taken up archery in their mid-40s, mid-50s. A lot of archers out there are only shooting like 4 or 5 years. And those very same archers are on the international stage now, nailing it. It's not a pursuit that's strictly in the domain of an athlete who's been doing this since their mid-teens or since college and being coached by the finest. It's not. And I think that's often a misconception that maybe people think, you know what, the kids are in college, if you're great in archery, I know that's 20 years too late for that. No way. Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that I think is slowly starting to dispel greatly when you see the profile of people taking up archery.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very
so I think
that
was, and I remember thinking that myself, like when I was taking up with Daniel, because I was only just something to do with him. But then you get into it and you go, hang on a second, I can play a role here as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that is something I do say when we're doing the beginners courses, and I'll touch upon it every so often, especially when people are looking at the bows and you can see, and they're wondering, like, because you can see a bit of reticence there when they walk in, and the first time, like, what are we doing here? And no, it's not something that's in the domain of the long-term high-performance athlete.
Yeah, but that's like a lot of it is down to, for me, because again, it's all about me. It's down to, like, sometimes if I don't shoot, I'm really cranky. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I have to go and shoot. If I don't, I'll kill everyone. You know what I mean? Like,
that's actually normal.
Yeah, and it's a release for me.
Yeah,
because
that's fantastic.
Yeah, because like I used to play rugby. Obviously, I got injured, and I didn't have an outlet.
Yeah.
And now this has given me, it's gotten me back out there again.
But this is what I like about archery as well. And even if you don't get out to shoot, if you get out to the club and you just
have a chat,
yeah. Or for me, if it's making a string or tuning a bow, those different facets there, I have that outlet. And also, I mean, there's the personal development things in terms of coaching, and you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
There's always something to learn. And like with many sports, there's a certain repetitive element. You're into drills and things like that. And archery's a bit like that as well. It is about practice. But it's not just purely about a set routine. There's other areas in it too that you can explore. So there's always something different there. So it's not just about shooting, even though like archery, you are shooting an arrow, but there's other areas to it. So you even if you might not feel like shooting, or might have lost all your arrows the previous week, and waiting for the next batch to arrive. It doesn't mean all of a sudden like you're off the scene.
Yeah.
In no way.
Yeah. And so that, I suppose, leads me into the next one, which is for someone who's never tried archery, why do you think they should give it a shot?
I think, why should they give it a shot? Why not? Why not?
It's the most easiest, most direct answer.
It's not to browbeat people and say, oh, look, everybody has to do this because we all think it's great. So therefore, like, you're all missing out. So therefore, that's your problem. No. Certainly, if somebody is at a juncture and they're, like I said, they might be looking for something to do for whatever personal reason, that's fine. And they're trying to think of something just to take up or explore. Archery is certainly an option there that can provide many avenues for them.
And I found it to be very inclusive as well.
And exactly. Yeah. Do you know, whether it's from a purely occasional social thing, right up to a high performance sports element and everything in between, I would certainly say if somebody's out there pondering about something to do or explore or try, depending on a certain point they've reached in life, give archery a go.
Yeah, and especially to people who might feel limited, like physically.
Absolutely, yeah.
Get along to your club, get out there.
And that's a very important thing as well when it comes to, say, mobility and things like that. I know IFAF it's a field archery club, so they would predominantly field, and there's some amazing 3D courses out there. But there's also a target element as well. We do the flint rounds, the indoor rounds. Archery Ireland, who is another governing body, they would have a predominant kind of target element there as well. So you're not trekking around the woods. It's a very focused area of competition, but it's targeted. It's target oriented. So you've got a level. And we have a very strong, say, Paralympian showing in Ireland as well when it comes to archery too. So archery is not necessarily something that's within the domain of completely physically able or strong. There's flexibilities there, not just in terms of the competition layouts or the course layouts, but also even in the bow styles as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned compound bows or horse bows, long, short, small, high poundage, low poundage, different ways of releasing them. I don't know if you ever watched the Armless Archer on YouTube as well. Like, it's an amazing character. Yeah.
I'll have to watch.
Yeah.
So my final question is, what, with this podcast series, what do you hope the outcome is going to be?
To demystify certain elements of archery. I think for people who are thinking about giving it a go, and to take maybe certain parts of the intimidatory aspects out of it as well. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that people feel that they need to, like I said, perform or deliver or compete. To demystify that. Now, thankfully, I think that's already starting to happen, because we can play a part in that as well. And to encourage people just to, if they're thinking of something to do, for whatever reason, just to give it a go.
Okay. So that is Owen Reynolds.
Thank you. It's great fun and having a great time.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Well, we ended that one there then.
Yes.
And there you go. Our first episode done, and you got to meet Owen. We really hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us next week as we continue our chats about archery and all it involves. In the meantime, stay by the wall and mind the arrows.